Are you kidding me? Her shout echoes across the lake. We spent over 70 grand on this garage. She kicks at a loose piece of rebar, sending it clanging across the slab. You think you can just come out of nowhere and stop us? I step right up to the property line, close enough to see the mascara smudged under her eyes from where she's been rubbing them. You built on my land, I say, each word precise, without a single permit or conversation. My hands spread wide. That's not a mix-up. That's arrogance. Claire gets in my face, her expensive perfume clashing with the scent of fresh concrete. You're just bitter, she hisses, because your little cabin looks like a storage shed next to our home. Her manicured finger pokes my chest. Admit it. You're jealous. I don't flinch. This isn't about jealousy. My voice stays steady despite the heat rising in my cheeks. It's about boundaries. I glance pointedly at the gleaming new foundation. You cross them. Literally. Claire rears back like I slapped her. You're pathetic, she screams, her voice cracking. Spittle flies from her lips. No one in this neighborhood even likes you. She sweeps her arm toward the lake. You're ruining the entire vibe. I take a slow breath, counting to 3 in my head. Better to be disliked for standing my ground, I say, meeting her glare without blinking, than pitied for letting people walk all over me. Claire spins on her heel, her ponytail whipping through the air. You'll regret this, she shrieks over her shoulder as she stomps toward her McMansion. My husband will crush you in court. Imagine waking up to the serene sounds of nature, only to find that your neighbor's construction project is disrupting the peace. While she envisions a cozy garage that complements her lakeside home, her neighbors have concerns about aesthetics, environmental impact, and even property values. The air was crisp that April morning as I pulled into the gravel driveway of my family's lakeside cabin, tires crunching with a sound that always brought comfort. The cabin, a modest retreat built by my grandfather in the 1940s, stood like an old sentinel against the soft breeze off the water. Its hand-carved beams held 4 generations of laughter, heartache, and resilience. I visited monthly in summer, less in the off-season, but always with reverence. It was where I planned to retire. But that spring something was wrong. A hulking structure, part garage, part yacht hangar, loomed over the east side of the lot. Its raw concrete foundation spilled boldly, brazenly onto my land. My jaw tightened as I stepped out of my car. The boundary markers were gone, bulldozed away like they never existed. Pulse pounding, I began taking photos, documenting every inch. As a real estate attorney, I knew the law was on my side. I had every survey, deed, and title stashed in my glove box. But it didn't prepare me for the sheer audacity of what I was seeing. The property next door had new owners, Victor and Claire. They'd bought it 6 months ago after the former residents, an elderly couple who'd once watched over my cabin like family, moved away to be closer to their grandchildren. From local gossip, I'd learned Victor worked in finance, and Claire didn't work. Apparently, renovating the lake into her private kingdom was a full-time occupation. Their construction had been relentless all winter. Jackhammers, concrete trucks, and noise that disrupted the quiet peace the lake was known for. But this was war. As I walked toward the encroaching structure, a sleek black SUV rolled into their driveway. Claire stepped out wearing designer athleisure and sunglasses that screamed expensive boredom. She looked at me like I was dirt stuck to her shoe. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice clipped and smug. I introduced myself. "I own the cabin next door. You're building on my land." She raised an eyebrow, turned slowly, and glanced at the cabin like it offended her. "Oh, you're the one with the shack." "It's my shack, and that land is mine. You're a good 6 feet over the line." She shrugged. "The old owners said we could build there." "Verbal agreements don't override land surveys," I replied calmly. Claire's lips tightened. Whatever. This garage is going to raise your property value. You should be thanking us. I'm asking to see your permits and survey. I don't have to show you anything, she snapped. My husband handles that. He'll be home tonight. I stood firm. Then construction stops until we sort this out. She laughed in my face. Good luck. The crew's back tomorrow morning. That night I pored over every document, my original survey, photos, notes. I even called the county office to confirm. The garage, by every measurable inch, was on my land. At 7 p.m., I walked over and knocked. Claire opened the door with a look of disdain. Victor appeared behind her, tall, tailored, and less hostile. Evening, I said. Got a moment? Victor stepped out onto the porch. What's this about? Your garage. It's on my property. I brought the survey to show you. Victor frowned as I unfolded the documents. Claire scoffed, arms crossed. Our contractor said this was all part of our lot, Victor said. Did you get a new survey? I asked. Claire interrupted, irritated. The old couple said it was fine. Verbal assurances don't hold up, I said. This line is legal. Claire's tone sharpened. Do you know how much this garage costs? You're barely here. Your shack drags down the property value. I'm asking you to adjust your build and move it back. You're being petty, Claire snapped. You're ruining the neighborhood vibe. Victor tried to calm her. Let's have our lawyer take a look. If you don't resolve this, I said, I'll file a county complaint. And trust me, I'll win. Claire's voice rose again. You're threatening us? Good luck making friends here. People talk. As I turned to leave, she muttered loudly enough for me to hear, audacity from someone who probably hasn't updated a curtain since 1978. The next morning, construction resumed like nothing had happened. I filed the complaint. I also called my attorney, who confirmed I was legally entitled to remove any structure encroaching on my property, so long as I didn't damage what wasn't mine. Over the next few weeks, the situation deteriorated. Victor and Claire began cutting down 2 mature birch trees along the property line, claiming they blocked their view. Their new dock was installed without permits and now encroached on my waterfront access. Guests from their weekend parties parked on my lawn. When I approached Claire about it, she rolled her eyes. It's just grass. You're being ridiculous. I sent a cease and desist letter. She tore it up in front of the neighbors at a barbecue and made a toast about how some people just don't understand lake life. The final straw? They installed security cameras pointed directly at my cabin and deck. When I confronted Claire, she smiled coldly. It's for safety. You never know what kind of people live around here. I began documenting everything. Photos, timestamps, even witness statements. Neighbors came out of the woodwork. Apparently, Victor and Claire had called the cops on kids playing on the public beach, complained about boats being too loud, filed noise complaints against families grilling at dusk. When the county inspector visited and confirmed the garage was illegally placed, they were issued a stop work order. Victor shrugged it off. Claire laughed, but they didn't stop. Then came my quiet Saturday. Victor and Claire were away, some luxury spa resort in Arizona, according to their Instagram. I hired a licensed demolition crew. The crew was surgical. They removed only the part of the garage that stood on my property. We painted a bright red boundary line, installed new markers, and mounted motion-activated cameras of our own. Neighbors came out like it was a block party. Some brought lawn chairs. Mr. Thompson, the 60-year lake veteran, poured himself lemonade and watched the whole thing unfold. They told me my boat was tacky, he said with a chuckle. About time someone put him in their place. 3 days later, their SUV came screaming into the driveway. Claire's scream shattered the calm. What happened to my garage? She stormed toward my porch like a hurricane. Victor trailed behind, looking more resigned than angry. "You had no right," she shouted. "I removed what was on my land," I said, sipping coffee. Claire turned beet red. "We're calling the cops. Right now. You're going to jail for this." A slow smile spreads across my face as I take another sip of coffee. "By all means." I gesture to the empty chair across from me. "I'll wait right here with the paperwork." 10 minutes later, the crunch of gravel under police cruiser tires announces their arrival. Claire practically trips over herself, rushing to the officers, her silk pajama top now untucked and smeared with dirt. "Officers!" Her voice reaches a new octave as she points at me with both hands. "Arrest him! He destroyed our building. He demolished our garage without our permission." The older officer holds up a calming hand while the younger one surveys the damage, his boot nudging a chunk of concrete. "Ma'am, calm down." His slow drawl contrasts with Claire's hysteria. "Let's get everyone's side of the story." He turns to me. "Sir, what's going on here?" I rise smoothly from my chair. "They built a garage that extended onto my property by over 6 feet. My finger traces the red property line on the map. I filed a complaint, got this survey, issued a cease and desist, and eventually had the encroaching portion removed, strictly within my property line." Claire makes a strangled noise behind the officers. "He's lying!" She stomps her foot like a petulant child. "That garage was ours. We spent tens of thousands of dollars on it. This is vandalism." Victor, who's been standing back with his arms crossed, finally speaks in a hushed tone. "Claire, stop shouting." The younger officer takes the folder from me, flipping through the documents with methodical precision. His partner peers over his shoulder, nodding at each stamped approval. "Full survey," I explain, pointing to each document in turn. "Dated photos, complaint copy, cease and desist letter, and the demolition invoice." I tap the final page. "County inspector confirmed the violation. There's even a stop work order they ignored." The officers exchange a look. The older one sighs, rubbing his mustache. "This survey clearly shows the boundary line." He glances at the remains of the garage. "Yep, it was encroaching. Did the inspector issue a formal violation?" "With a bright orange sticker," I confirm, producing a photo from my phone showing the ignored notice plastered on their garage door. "And the structure was unpermitted on top of it." Claire's shriek could shatter glass. "What? Are you serious? He destroyed our garage." The younger officer closes the folder with a snap. "Ma'am, I'm not seeing any criminal offense here." He hands the documents back to me. "This is a civil matter, and from what I can tell, your neighbor acted lawfully." Claire's face undergoes a terrifying transformation from red to purple. "It wasn't yours to begin with," the older officer adds gently. "Not the part on his land. You ignored a stop work order. That's a county violation, not criminal vandalism." "I'll sue!" Claire whirls on me, spittle flying from her lips. "We'll sue you into the ground." I take a leisurely sip of coffee, the mug hiding my smirk. "You'll be the second lawyer on this case." I nod to the business card, paperclipped to the front of the folder. "Mine already checked every box." Victor sinks onto their porch steps, head in his hands. "I told you we should have waited before building that garage." Claire ignores him, her manicured nails digging into her palms. "This isn't over." She leans forward like a predator. "You think you've won? You have no idea who we know?" The younger officer suddenly steps between us, his hand resting on his belt. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to step back onto your property now." He nods toward the freshly painted property line. "You're currently trespassing." Claire freezes mid-rant, her mouth hanging open. "What?" "His cameras caught you crossing the line," the older officer adds, pointing to the discreet security camera mounted on my eaves. "He has no trespassing signs up." His voice firms. "This is your only warning." As the officers leave, Claire stomps back to her mansion, her silk pajamas now streaked with grass stains. Victor lingers behind, scuffing his bare foot in the dirt. I didn't want it to go like this. I finish my coffee in one long swallow, the bitterness lingering on my tongue. Then maybe next time, I say, meeting his ashamed gaze, ask before you build. Their lawyer reviewed the evidence and advised them to settle. They demolished the rest of the garage, paid their fines, then put the house up for sale at a massive loss. The new owners, a sweet retired couple from Wisconsin, asked if I had a copy of my survey. They invited me over for tea and designed a smaller garage that respected all property lines. They even helped me plant native shrubs along the new boundary. The community rallied. The local association implemented new rules about construction, boundaries, and noise. A message had been sent: respect the lake or leave. That fall, I was elected president of the Lake Association. At the first meeting, I reminded everyone that land is more than dirt and deeds. It's history, it's legacy, it's community. Mr. Thompson gave me a bottle of his homemade blackberry wine. You didn't just protect your land, he said. You protected all of us. Then he asked, you know the difference between having rights and keeping them? I smiled. Yeah, it's knowing when to stand up and say, not here, not ever. Claire and Victor moved back to the city. Rumor has it Claire tried to sue their contractor for emotional distress. It didn't stick. Their Instagram went private. No one missed them. As for me, my retirement dream remains intact, stronger even. I walk the shore in peace, birch trees rustling above, their leaves whispering approval. The lake is quiet again. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful tales of resilience and justice. Your support allows us to keep delivering valuable insights and stories that inform and inspire people everywhere. Thank you for watching Work Story, and see you in the next one.